So let's start off by just looking at the duck itself. I mean, you can just cook duck exactly how you cook a chicken. I mean, people sort of get a bit freaked out by duck for some reason. It's slightly fattier and it can take just a little bit longer to cook, but the method can be exactly the same. There are several different ways of doing it, but let's first of all just take a look at it. So what you're going to do is you have to clean your duck really well, nice cold water, and then you need to pat it dry with some kitchen towel all over the skin, get it nice and dry. I've cut the ends of the wings off there, as you can see. I mean, leave them on if you want. I'm just going to take them off. There's quite a lot of bit of fat here at the kind of tail or the bum end. That can all come off if you want, as can a lot of this here. You can cut a lot of that out, unless you're going to stuff it and then some people, you know, sew that together and kind of seal it. Again, with the actual neck end, you can lose some of that fat. Now, some people will put that on a tray in the oven so that it renders, and I mean rendering means the fat falls off underneath the rack. Some people put it straight in and keep the fat there. I mean, that works for me. I might do that today. And some people even roast this in a paper bag to kind of keep moisture in. If you're going to try and do the kind of, you know, the kind of crispy Chinese aromatic duck that you see hanging up in Chinese restaurants, then that's a whole different ball game, because that you know, takes some process of kind of, you know, seasoning it and then sort of pouring sort of lots of really sort of boiling hot water over it and stuff like that, and then hanging it, and it's a real process. That what we're going to do today is just do a kind of simple roast duck. Now, simply, you can put inside what you want. So whatever you put inside is the flavour you're going to get, or the vibe. So if I put some garlic, ginger, spring onions and, you know, 5 spice and that, we're going to go a kind of Asian Chinese route with it. Or you could just put some thyme in there, some onion. Citrus works really well, orange in particular. Lemon usually goes better with chicken, but you can do what you want. So in there, you could put grapefruit, orange, lemon or lime, or a mixture of all, but I would put something inside the cavity. And also what's important is don't stuff the cavity like really full. You know, you do need to kind of let some sort of airflow happen in there. Also, the more you put inside, the longer it's gonna you know, take to cook in the oven. So that's basically it. So she's nice and clean, and you know, I'm gonna pat her dry. You know, get some kitchen towel. Let me just grab a little bit here now. You know, and just show you the process, but it's just literally get the skin nice and dry. And I'm going to be popping up a few, and we also need to do the underside of that as well. I'm going to be popping up a few kind of text bits here and there for you guys to sort of check out and just see how long it takes, or you can do this and da da da, just a little bit of extra info. But I'm going to carry on getting this nice and dry, then we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so I've just trimmed the bird slightly. As you saw at the beginning, I clipped the wings just there, so they're off. I've also now taken the back end, the butt, or the parson's nose as it's known. I've taken that off there as well. And just here, there was, you know, a bit of extra fat on there. I've just trimmed that up on both sides. I've also patted it dry. Now what I like to do is just get a skewer and just pop a little few holes into the skin, because that does have a kind of, it has a much thicker, fattier skin. I mean, especially around this little leg area there. So yeah, just kind of a few little digs in there. I mean, I'm not going right in. I'm not really touching the actual meat. I'm just sort of just piercing that skin. I don't know if you can see that really, but she does have quite a nice layer of fat going on. Water off a duck's back, apparently. You see? So, we've done that. Now that this, I mean, now, just to let you know, now that I've cut that off and trimmed that sides, this is going to be impossible now for us to sew together. Some people want to do that and kind of get some cord or some string and then sort of sew that together to keep everything inside. We can't do that any longer because I've trimmed that off, but that's not a problem. Now you need to decide what you're going to be putting inside. You could put nothing inside, but yeah, it might be a little bit bland. So maybe some garlic, maybe some onions, or combos of all these things. Like I say, a citrus, maybe some apple, rosemary, thyme, any fresh herb basically works. I'm going to kind of go with a kind of more Asian-y 5 spicy ginger garlic thing. And also we're going to make a glaze, which we're going to put on the top of that and hopefully get a little bit of kind of crispness. So I'm going to do some stuffing for that and a separate glaze. Then I'm going to tell you about the times of kind of cooking it. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so we're going to get some things inside now into the cavity. Today, like I say, you guys use whatever you want. I've got some onion, some lemon, or you can use any citrus, a lime, or like I say, orange or grapefruit, something like that. And here I've got some roughly chopped garlic. I've got a couple of chilies and some roughly chopped ginger. We're simply going to get that inside. But first, I'm going to put in some black pepper. Fairly generous amount of black pepper. And salt, just on the inside. And I'm just rubbing that into the roof of the cavity. And simply we can just place our ingredients in. And as I said, you can use whatever you like. And I'm not putting it all the onion in, or the citrus in. I'm kind of mixing it up a bit, so the flavours spread out. So you've got some nice salt and pepper in there, and then, like I said, go for whatever you like. After that, we've got some beautiful flavours going on in there. Now what we're going to do, now this has been patted dry and we've put those holes in, we're going to get a generous amount of salt on there, on the top. And then just pat that down. We're going to do the same with some black pepper. Just pat that down. Okay, then I'm going to flip that now, do the other side, then I'll be back. So we've got our seasoning, salt and pepper, all over, bottom side, underside. We're now going to add, I've got some beautiful 5 spice here. This is a homemade one, but you can get this in the shop. And again, let's be fairly generous with that. Get a bit on the cavity. Let's rub that in, pat that down so it kind of sticks together. And again, I'm just going to do the underside of this. And then we're pretty much ready to go into the oven. Again, I'm going like an Asian, Chinese-y type of kind of vibe today. You can go wherever you want. So you can just be putting some dried oregano, thyme. Well, the list goes on and on, doesn't it, really? But yeah, this is what I'm doing today. So we're going to get that ready to go into the oven. Then we're going to make a little glaze for it, which we're going to put on about halfway through. See you in a moment. So as you can see, I've now got our duck onto a metal baking tray. Now this is where people differ, and there's lots of different ways of doing this now. The method I'm doing today is straight onto the metal tray. I'm not adding any fat in there or any oil in there, and I've not rubbed any oil or fat onto the duck. Some people will rub some goose fat or some oil on there. I'm not going to do that today. I don't see the point in that. That's also because we're going to be adding a glaze later. You can again raise this off the bottom on a rack, inside the tray. What that will do is any fat that comes from it will render, which means it will drip down and collect underneath. You could do it that way if you want. You can also, if you want, again on a rack, raise it up and put some water in there. You can put a touch of water in the bottom. In the oven, that will steam and keep the bird really moist. And again, there's another method, like I've told you, some people actually do it in a brown bag. You can get a paper bag that you oil, put it in, and it kind of, cooks. I've never actually tried that method myself, but I've seen it work. It does work for sure. So what I'm going to do now is this is going to go into a preheated oven. Now I'm about to pop up some text for you regarding It's about 500 grams weight for 20 minutes cooking time, roughly. But like I say, I'm going to pop that up now. So that's going to go into my oven. You're going to see the text, and then it's going to come out you know, in about sort of 40 minutes or 45 minutes, this one, and we're going to put some glaze on it, and then it's going to go back in. So preheated oven, check this text out so you know you get it correct. Off we go. Next stage for us is while that's in, we're going to make that glaze. Okay, so the duck is in the oven. It's going to go in for about 45-50 minutes. Like I say, I'm going to pop some text up, which you may have seen already. Yeah, 500 grams, about 20 minutes. 500 grams is about 1 pound, just so you know that. Right, let's get this glaze together. So in there I've got a little touch of honey, as you can see. And I'm now going to add some soy sauce. Roughly equal parts of the honey and the soy sauce. And I'm going to add some citrus. Now today I'm using a grapefruit juice. Again, about equal parts. That was a nice pink grapefruit. You can use lemon, you can use orange, entirely up to you. And then here I've got some sesame seed oil, which is a beautiful kind of nutty flavour. I'm going to pop some of that in. That wasn't equal parts, so yeah, the soy sauce, honey, and the citrus equal parts, and then a bit of just a splash of the sesame seed oil. Gives it a really, I mean, sesame seed oil is absolutely wonderful. It's beautiful on dressings and stuff like that. Just give that a little mix, and that's done. So after 45-50 minutes, the bird's going to come out. We're going to brush some of that all over it. It's going to go back in for the remaining time, which again is about 15 more minutes. And then it's pretty much done. I'll see you when we're putting that on. Okay, so as you can see, our chicken has just come out of the oven. That's been in, it's halfway there now. That's been in the oven for 45-50 minutes. And you can see that there's some oil, some fat that's coming out of there. Now some people like to cook it on both sides, you know, breast side down. That usually works with chicken and with turkey especially, because they can get quite dry. I don't really find it necessary with duck, because, you know, there's plenty of fat going on. I don't think there's any point doing that. You can do it if you want. Some people do it. I just prefer not to. So what we're going to do, we've got our little glaze here, which we're now going to generously put on. And I use just a regular paintbrush. I use lots of these in the kitchen. So let's just pat this around. And then she's going to go back in the oven for a further 50 minutes, 45-50 minutes on the same heat. And I might do this a couple more times as well. I might kind of, you know, pop my head in, you know, 15-20 minutes. And rebaste this again, rebaste it with some of this beautiful glaze that we've made. So back in, I'm probably going to do this a few more times. Then, I think she's going to be ready and done. So I'll see you then. And there we go, guys, that's my roast duck. I basted it a couple more times, you know, I used up all of that glaze that we made. And it's kind of slightly blackened here and there. That's the soy sauce and the honey. But that is beautifully cooked. Really important to get the cooking time right. Make sure you weigh your bird and follow the instructions on that. Now what we're going to do is, once the bird comes out the oven, and this is really, it's just come out, we need to cover this now with some silver foil or metal foil, aluminium foil, whatever you call it. And just let it sit down for maybe 10 minutes. Just let it rest and it will do its thing, and it will kind of get all its juices flowing. You can eat that, you know, chop that up and eat that with some rice or something like that, as it is a kind of Asian or Chinese styled bird. What we're going to do actually is we're going to make some spring rolls of this. So that will cool down, then we're going to chop it up and get all the meat off the bone, and then we're going to make some duck spring rolls, which we're going to make a video for, of course, and you guys can see that. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I really do hope this has helped and answered a few emails that I've had about cooking duck. And that's it. Lots of love to you. Bye-bye.